Athina Onassis, the silent survivor of a cursed dynasty. Prologue. Born of gold, shaped by shadows. In a world gilded by billions and shadowed by grief, Athina Onassis was born into a name that carried as much weight as it did glamour. She was the last living heir of one of the 20th century's most powerful and tragic dynasties, the Onassis family. Her birth in Paris on January 29, 1985, made headlines not just because she was the granddaughter of Aristotle Onassis, the Greek shipping magnate, but because she was seen as the final thread in a lineage that had unraveled under the weight of its own fortune and fame. From the moment she opened her eyes to the world, Athina was a paradox, the child of legacy and loss, of boundless wealth and emotional austerity. Chapter 1. The House That Aristotle Built. To understand Athina, one must first understand the empire and the ghosts she inherited. Aristotle Onassis rose from modest beginnings in Smyrna to become the king of the sea, amassing a shipping fortune that made him one of the wealthiest men on earth. He personified a modern-day Midas, charismatic, ruthless, endlessly ambitious. By the 1950s and 60s, he commanded an empire of tankers, airlines, and real estate, and captured headlines with his romantic liaisons, most famously with opera singer Maria Callas, and then with Jacqueline Kennedy, the widow of the assassinated U.S. president. But tragedy punctuated his rise. His only son, Alexander Onassis, died in a plane crash in 1973. The loss shattered Aristotle. He never recovered. When he died in 1975, much of his fortune, and the family's future, rested in the hands of his daughter, Christina Onassis. Christina, though an heiress to billions, seemed destined for sadness. Her life was marred by depression, failed marriages, and a sense of suffocating expectation. By the time she gave birth to Athina in 1985, she had already lost her father, her brother, and her identity to the weight of the Onassis legacy. Chapter 2. A Childhood in Exile. Athina was not raised in Greece, nor in the cosmopolitan circles of Paris or New York, but rather in the quiet countryside of Switzerland and the French Riviera. Her father, Thierry Roussel, a French pharmaceutical heir, had 4 children by another woman even before Christina died in 1988 from a suspected heart attack, leaving 3-year-old Athina an orphan. Control of the Onassis fortune, estimated then at over $500 million, became the subject of international legal battles between Roussel and the Onassis Foundation, which Aristotle had created to manage much of his wealth for the public good. For years, Athina was caught in a tug-of-war not only over money, but over identity. She was raised far from her mother's Greek heritage and often shielded from her ancestral language, culture, and even name. Roussel's influence ensured Athina grew up speaking French and riding horses, not Greek and yachts. The Onassis name was treated like a burden, not a banner. Chapter 3. The Heiress Who Didn't Want to Be One. As she came of age, Athina proved elusive to the media, shunning the spotlight that had once enveloped her family. Unlike the Hilton sisters or other heiresses of her generation, Athina stayed private, almost defiantly so. She had no public scandals, no tabloid reality show, no socialite image. She was fluent in silence. Her passion instead was horses. An accomplished equestrian, Athina devoted herself to show jumping, investing heavily in training, facilities, and breeding programs. In 2005, she married Brazilian Olympic rider Álvaro de Miranda Neto, nicknamed Dota, in a lavish wedding in São Paulo, but even that relationship was colored by tension and, ultimately, betrayal. Despite sharing her love of horses, the marriage reportedly became strained, with allegations of infidelity and financial disputes. Their divorce in 2016 ended with Athina not only walking away from the relationship, but also severing ties with much of the equestrian business they had built together. For a woman surrounded by wealth, Athina's most consistent pattern was withdrawal, from people, from publicity, from the empire she was born to. Chapter 4. The Curse of the Onassis Name. The term Onassis Curse has become almost mythological. The family's vast fortune seemed to bring little joy and even less stability. Aristotle Onassis lost a son and died grieving. Christina Onassis cycled through 4 failed marriages and died young. Alexander Onassis died at 24 in a plane crash under murky circumstances. Jackie Kennedy, once married to Aristotle, never felt accepted by the Onassis family and was scorned by both the Kennedys and the Greeks for the union. And now Athina, the last leaf on a withering tree, lives in solitude, her inheritance once estimated at over $1 billion, but her inner world largely invisible. The curse, many say, was not just in the deaths or tragedies, but in the unbearable spotlight of wealth and legacy. Athina became a silent custodian of this narrative, the only one left who could rewrite it or bury it forever. Chapter 5. Reclaiming the Narrative. In recent years, Athina has slowly reemerged, not as a public figure, but as a more assertive guardian of her life and legacy. She has taken greater control of the Onassis Foundation, pushed back against false reports about her finances, and restructured her equestrian interests to reflect a new chapter in her life. She now lives between Europe and Brazil, far from the Greek Isles her grandfather once ruled, but no longer running from the name she bears. In many ways, Athina has lived a life in reverse, born in a spotlight, then retreating to the shadows, only to re-enter the world on her own terms, quietly, deliberately, and without apology. She may never speak publicly about her family's legacy, but in her silence, she embodies its most powerful message: survival. Epilogue. The Last Onassis. No biography of Athina Onassis will ever be complete without confronting the ghosts she inherited. Yet perhaps her true legacy is not the billion she controls or the dynasty she represents, but the dignity with which she has chosen to live. In a world that expected scandal, she gave serenity. In a name that echoed with tragedy, she found privacy. And in a cursed dynasty, she became, perhaps, its only survivor.